Hello, my name is Nana, and me and my partner Josue will be explaining to you child abuse and understanding and preventing it. So, first off, what is child abuse? Child abuse is the mistreatment of a child by an adult or another child that causes him or her harm or risk of physical and their physical and emotional well-being. It can occur in various forms, including physical, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Um, Child abuse can be severe and long lasting in a child's physical and mental health. And child abuse wasn't a crime until the late 1960s, and there wasn't an act to prevent it until 1974. Um, and child abuse has been very prominent in today's society, and we need to learn to prevent it. So, child abuse by the numbers, as you can see, 5 children will die today from child abuse. 1 in 5 boys will be sexually abused by the age of 18. 1 in 3 girls will be sexually abused by the age of 18. And a report of child abuse is made every 10 seconds. And there's a chart of what type of child abuse happens most often, and you can see physical abuse is the most and sexual is the second most. And the perpetrators are mostly parents and acquaintances, which is very scary. So the types of child abuse is physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse, as well as neglect. So for physical abuse involves the use of force that causes injury or harm to a child, such as hitting, slapping, kicking, and shaking. Approximately 1 in 4 children experience child abuse or neglect in their lifetime. And of maltreated children, 18% are abused physically. Um, Young age, prematurity, special needs, twins, and people of um, that bracket are at risk of facing child abuse. And perpetrators risk factors include poverty, parental alcohol or drug abuse, and domestic violence at home. 91% of the time, perpetrator is the parent. Abusive head trauma is the leading cause of death from physical abuse in children younger than 2. Emotional abuse. So emotional abuse refers to the behavior that harms a child's emotional well-being, such as belittling, humiliating, or threatening a child. In terms of prevalence, a worldwide meta-analysis estimated the rates of 18.4% of for emotional neglect and 36.3% for emotional abuse. And sexual abuse. So sexual abuse is a very touchy subject because a lot of people do not come out with these type of things. A lot of children hide it, and it includes sexual activity with a child, such as fondling, molestation, and exploitation. Um, 1 in 5 females and 1 in 13 males report being sexually abused. Stranger danger is something that is taught to make children think strangers are the main perpetrators of sexual violence. In reality, the perpetrators are usually someone they know, such as their own family or the victim's family. Perpetrators groom these children and they try to gain the trust of the victim's family, or spend time with the children to further harm them. 91% of sexual assault is committed by people known by the victim. And here's a statistic. It depicts what percentage of um what percentage of the victim is known by the victim. What percentage of the perpetrators is known by the victim, or if they're a stranger. And we can see 59 are acquaintances, 34 are family members. And the number of cases for child abuse uh, in the United States in 2021 by age, as you can see, less than one. The number is incredibly high at 88 thousand, and as you go up and up in age, it becomes less, which is very scary.
Hi, what's up, guys? I'm Jose. For my part, I'm going to talk about neglect. Usually it occurs when a child's basic needs such as food, shelter, clothing, medical care, and supervision are not met. Neglect is the most common form of child abuse, followed by physical abuse, sexual abuse, and psychological abuse. All maltreated children, 70% is usually 78% are neglected. Children who are neglected have a 43% higher risk of dying early in adulthood. And at least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse or neglect in the past year in the United States. This is likely an underestimate because many of the cases aren't reported. These are just cases that have been reported. In 2020, 1,750 children died from abuse and neglect in the United States. In 2018, 62% of children placed in foster care were removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect, totaling over 160,000. And this is just cases that have been reported alone just in the U.S. It's not even talking about the world globally because it does happen everywhere. And this just shows a little chart of number of cases of child abuse in the United States in 2021 by age. And like I was saying, it's just the United States and only cases that have been reported. Most of these cases go unreported. Talk a little bit more in depth about the 4 signs of child abuse. The first being physical abuse, which is unexplained bruises, burns, cuts, or injuries. Reluctant to go home, fear of adults, aggressive behavior, wearing clothing that covers the body, even in hot weather. Second one, emotional abuse. You usually see low self esteem, depression, withdrawal, extreme fear, anxiety, changes in behavior, personality, self harm, suicidal ideation. Third, sexual abuse. Difficulty walking or sitting, unexplained genital or anal injuries, sexual knowledge or behavior beyond their age, fear of being touched, or reluctance to be alone with certain individuals. And the last one, neglect. You can see a poor hygiene, malnutrition, untreated medical conditions, frequent absences from school, inadequate clothing or shelter, and appearing tired or lethargic. Now I'm going to talk about a little about laws and regulations that could prevent child abuse is prohibited by law in most countries, and there are specific laws and regulations in places to protect children from abuse. And like Nana was saying, there wasn't even laws until 1974. So it's been happening forever, still to this day. And then some of the key laws include Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act, CAPTA, in the United States, which provides funding guidelines to states for preventing, assessing, and treating child abuse. Another one, Convention on Rights of the Child, CRC, by the United Nations, which outlines the fundamental rights and protection of children, including protection from abuse. Another one, mandatory reporting laws, which require certain professionals such as teachers, doctors, and social workers to report suspected cases of child abuse to the authorities. And then criminal laws that establish penalties for individuals who commit child abuse, including fines, imprisonment, and loss of custody. So, how to prevent child abuse? Uh, Definitely have to spread education and awareness, educating ourselves and others about child abuse, the types of signs, the consequences that can help prevent it, promoting awareness campaigns and provide education in schools and communities such as like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. Places like this can help identify and prevent child abuse. Uh, Report suspected abuse. If you suspect that a child is being abused, it's essential to report it to the authorities such as Child Protective Services or law enforcement. Remember, it's better to report a suspicion than to ignore it. And then providing support to the victim of child abuse, such as counseling, therapy, and access to resources that can help them cope with the trauma and prevent further abuse. And creating a safe environment, promoting a safe, nurturing environment for children, both at home and in the community, can help prevent child abuse. This includes establishing positive relationship and setting clear boundaries.
Thank you, and that was our project.